I'm going to pop away from PowerPoint just for a second, and I'm going to show you the application that we're kind of using as illustration. And so I'm going to actually run the build. And what I want to do is I want to pull open Visual Studio, and you see how we have some projects over here, and this is the PowerShell build script, which I'll get into. And then we have a directory that is our working directory of our Git clone. And I'm just going to double click to build.bat. Okay. While this is running, I'm going to pull open our SQL Server Management Studio, and the database for this guy is named Church Bulletin. It's just a test Church Bulletin application. And notice that there's no Church Bulletin database over here. There's some other just test databases, but not Church Bulletin. And so our build, one of the things that you want right off the bat, right from day one in iteration 0, is you want to equip your development team with a private build script, a way to run the build and run whatever test you've accumulated locally. And that's what this is doing. My hands are not on the keyboard. This is just running the build script. And one of the things that it does is it compiles, it sets up the local development environment. And one of the key things of setting up the development environment is to create the database that you're locally. So let's go over to the database here, and let's click on the refresh button. And there we go, Church Bulletin. And of course, this isn't a big database. It's just a sample application. It only has one table, but let's select the rows of the one table. Okay, we got 4 rows. All right, so we created a database from scratch, add a new table. Oh, and we put some data in the database. Okay, fancy. And then, the build script, there's some test coverage, there's some integration tests, and you saw a Chrome browser popping up on the screen. We also have 4 automated full system tests that are actually popping open the application and checking it out. So if I were to hit Control F5 and just build and run this application locally, which, by the way, the very first time I ran it, it would fail if there's no database, right? If there's a screen that's trying to or if there's some code that's trying to call out to a database, it's going to fail. All right. And here's the built-in weather forecast. And then here's an extra screen that actually queries the database. And these are the 4 records that I showed you in SQL Management Studio. All right. And then a few things just to whet your appetite. You want a way to know what the version number is, which in local, when you're doing local development, it's not going to have a version number, 1.0. But also, we want to know if this application is healthy. So you want to be able to see health check. Yep, it's healthy. All right. Now, if I were to show you the running application, check it out. There, right when we start up the application, we run whatever built-in health checks are a part of it, which we have 3 different health checks when the application starts, just to check the database is online, make sure it's running in a 64-bit process, that the web services are up and running. This happens to be a Blazor WebAssembly application, but this logging is from the health check. So if I were to pull this over here and run this again, notice that the health checks ran again. Okay, so let me close that down, and let me come over here and just give you a quick overview of this application. I'm not going to talk to you about Blazor. Any .NET application, these things apply.